You drag yourself out of bed already tired. Coffee is brewing, but your brain still feels foggy, your body feels heavy, and your to-do list already feels like an attack. At the same time, you keep seeing headlines like, Japan has one of the highest life expectancies in the world, around 84 to 85 years on average. Same human body, same 24 hours, completely different outcomes. They're not superhuman. They just built small habits that fit how the human body and brain actually work. So the real question becomes, what are they doing in everyday life that we're not? In this video, we'll unpack 9 tiny Japanese-inspired habits that quietly support physical health, mental clarity, and emotional resilience, without needing a perfect diet, a 5 a.m. routine, or moving to Tokyo. And as we go, I want you to hold on to one idea. You're not broken. Your settings are. If you've ever caught yourself thinking, I have no willpower, I can't stick to habits, something must be wrong with me, I want to gently challenge that. Very often, what feels like personal failure is simply your brain doing its job. It wants comfort and predictability. It's responding to an environment that constantly nudges you to eat more, work more, and stay plugged in. And it's doing all of that inside a culture that glorifies hustle and treats rest like a luxury instead of a basic need. Japan has plenty of problems too, but some of their everyday habits line up surprisingly well with how human biology and psychology actually work. In this video, we'll look at 9 Japanese-inspired, science-backed habits that are linked with better energy, a calmer mood, clearer thinking, and long-term health, as well as a stronger sense of meaning and connection. For each habit, you'll get a real-life example, a contrast with how most of us live, a simple science insight, and one tiny step you can try in the next day or two. This video is for education only. It's not medical or mental health advice, and it doesn't replace your doctor or therapist. It's not that you're broken. It's that your settings weren't built for your biology. Let's move into the heart of the video. Think of this as a tour through 9 small practices that quietly support your body, your brain, and your mood. Habit number 1. The 80% plate. Hara Hachi Bu. You're halfway through dinner. A show is playing, your phone is beside you, and you're chatting or scrolling. At some point, you look down and your plate is empty. You never really decided to stop, you just ate until there was nothing left. In places like Okinawa, many people are taught a different script. They eat more slowly and stop when they feel about 80% full, leaving the table gently satisfied instead of stuffed. Your body needs time to register fullness. Signals from your stomach and gut hormones can take 15 to 20 minutes to reach your brain. If you always eat fast and clear the plate, you often overshoot what your body needs. That extra 10 or 20% repeated meal after meal is linked with higher weight, more inflammation, and a greater risk of metabolic disease. Tiny action. At one meal in the next day or two, pause halfway. Put your fork down and ask, if I stopped here, would I feel okay in 20 minutes? If the answer is yes, try stopping there. If not, keep eating, but more slowly. You're just relearning what enough feels like. Habit number 2. 10-minute micro wins, Kaizen. You tell yourself that tomorrow you'll finally get it together. An hour at the gym, home-cooked meals, a spotless apartment. Tomorrow arrives, work runs late, you're exhausted, and almost nothing happens. The plan was too big for your actual life. Kaizen offers another path. Instead of, how do I change everything? It asks, what would be 1% better than yesterday? Japanese companies use this idea for years, stacking tiny improvements until the whole system changed. Your habits can work the same way. Research on habit formation suggests it often takes weeks or months for a new behavior to feel automatic. The brain learns best from small actions repeated in the same context, not from rare, heroic bursts of effort you never repeat. Tiny action. Choose one area you care about, moving more, reading, meditation, cooking at home. Shrink it down to something that takes 10 minutes or less, a short walk after dinner, 5 minutes of stretching, a few pages of a book. For the next week, your only job is to show up, not to impress yourself. Habit number 3. A reason to get up, Ikigai. Most mornings, your first thoughts are about what you have to deal with. Emails, messages, deadlines, responsibilities. Rarely do you ask, what am I actually glad to be alive for today? Ikigai is a Japanese word that points to a reason for being. It doesn't have to be a grand mission. It might be family, a creative hobby, a small business, volunteering, or growing a garden. It simply has to feel meaningful to you. Long-term studies following thousands of adults have found that people with a strong sense of purpose tend to live longer and have a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and serious cognitive decline. Purpose seems to nudge people toward healthier behaviors and gives them more resilience when life is hard. Tiny action. Tonight, take 5 quiet minutes and answer 2 questions in a notebook. What activities make me lose track of time in a good way? And who feels a little better because I exist? Circle one small activity and schedule 15 minutes for it this week. Those tiny appointments with purpose add up. So far, you've seen 3 ideas. Hara Hachi Bu protects your body from constant overload. Kaizen teaches your brain that change can be small and repeatable. Ikigai gives your efforts a direction that actually feels worth waking up for. If you don't have these yet, it doesn't mean you're failing. It means your settings were never designed around how humans really work. Be honest for a second. Which of these first 3 habits sounds hardest for you to try right now? Habit number 4. Protected green time. Shinrin-Yoku. After a long day, it's easy to collapse on the couch and disappear into your phone. Hours pass, and you realize you haven't seen the sky or felt fresh air. In Japan, there is a practice known as Shinrin-Yoku, often translated as forest bathing. It has become a popular way for some people to unwind by spending slow, intentional time in nature. It's not about hiking fast or closing your rings. It's about being among trees, walking without rushing, breathing a little deeper, and letting your senses wake up. Studies in Japan have found that time in forest environments can reduce stress hormones like cortisol, lower blood pressure and heart rate, and increase activity in the rest and digest branch of the nervous system. Your heart, your breathing, and your stress chemistry all have a chance to calm down. Tiny action. In the next 48 hours, find any green space you can. A park, a tree-lined street, a small garden. Spend 15 to 20 minutes walking slowly with your phone on airplane mode. Notice the colors, textures, sounds, and your own breathing. Habit number 5. Space to breathe. May. Many of us live days that are packed from edge to edge. Meetings, messages, podcasts while you cook, videos while you eat, scrolling in every spare moment. Almost no silence. Almost no mental white space. Japanese culture has a quiet idea called ma, the value of empty space. It's the pause in conversation, the silence between notes in music, the blank area in a painting. The space isn't wasted. It's what allows everything else to stand out. When you spend hours a day on screens, there is very little unstructured time left for your mind to wander and reset. Your brain is always processing new input, which keeps stress systems slightly activated and makes deep focus and creativity much harder. Ma is less about your body and more about your attention. It gives your mind room to integrate, to make connections, and to rest. Tiny action. Choose one micro moment in your day. The first 5 minutes after you wake up, the first 10 minutes of lunch, or the walk from your car or train to your front door. In that window, don't reach for your phone. Just look around and notice how you feel. Habit number 6. The reset ritual, Ōsōji. If you scan your home or your digital life, you might see what many people do. Unfinished projects, clothes you never wear, files and tabs everywhere, subscriptions you forgot to cancel. Clutter doesn't just fill shelves and screens. It quietly tugs at your attention. Ōsōji is a long-standing end-of-year cleaning tradition in Japan, where homes, offices, and schools are thoroughly cleaned to clear out the old and welcome the new. It's a physical process, but also a psychological one. Research has found that people who live in very cluttered environments tend to report higher stress and more difficulty relaxing. Cleaning and organizing rituals, on the other hand, can lower anxiety and increase a sense of control. Tiny action. Instead of a once-a-year marathon, turn Ōsōji into a small reset. Pick one tiny zone, a drawer, your desk, your email inbox, or your phone's home screen. Set a 15-minute timer. For each item you touch, ask, do I use this? Would I miss it in a week? Keep what passes that test. Donate, delete, or recycle the rest. If some of these habits feel new or a little strange, that's okay. You're trying on different settings, not judging yourself for the old ones. Habit number 7. Respecting resources. Mottainai. Mottainai is a Japanese word that expresses regret over waste. Wasted food, materials, or effort. It carries the feeling, this could have been used well, and it wasn't. In a culture of constant upgrades, it's easy to ignore that feeling. We buy more than we need, throw things away quickly, and rush toward the next new thing. Over time, that pattern can create clutter, financial stress, and a constant sense of not enough. Practicing Mottainai nudges you toward more mindful consumption. You pause before buying, you use what you already have, you repair instead of automatically replacing. That reduces decision fatigue and can create a calmer relationship with money and possessions. Tiny action. For the next week, pick one Mottainai rule. Finish the food at home before ordering in again. Read one book you already own before buying another. Use up one product fully before opening a new one. Habit number 8. Default kindness. Omoyari. Think about a crowded train, bus, or cafe. One person is playing videos on speaker, another leaves trash on the table, someone else blocks the doorway. Each small act quietly says, my comfort matters more than everyone else's. The word Omoyari is often used in Japan to describe thoughtful consideration for others. It shows up as speaking more softly in public, lining up in an orderly way, cleaning your own table, noticing when someone might need a seat more than you do. Research on helping behavior suggests that people who regularly do small things for others tend to report better mood, lower depression, and higher life satisfaction. Feeling like a helpful person changes how you see yourself. Strong social connections and regular acts of support are also linked with a lower risk of heart disease and a longer, healthier life. Tiny action. Today, choose one simple act of Omoyari that costs almost nothing. Let someone go ahead in line. Tidy a shared space at work. Leave a room cleaner than you found it. Habit number 9. Letting your cracks shine. Kintsugi. Most of us have experiences we secretly treat as proof that we're broken. A relationship that ended badly, a job where we burned out, a healthy routine we couldn't maintain. The inner voice says, see, I always mess things up. Kintsugi is a Japanese art in which broken pottery is repaired with lacquer mixed with gold or another precious material. The cracks aren't hidden, they're highlighted. The piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken and repaired. Research on self-compassion shows that people who respond to their own mistakes with kindness and curiosity, instead of harsh criticism, cope better with stress and are more likely to get back on track after a setback. Self-compassion is also linked with lower levels of stress hormones and inflammation over time, which may help protect your heart and overall health. Tiny action. Think of one crack in your own story. Write down what happened in simple, neutral language. Then write one thing you learned from it, and one way it made you more understanding or more skilled. The goal isn't to pretend the break never happened. The goal is to own the story so it no longer owns you. When you zoom out, these habits are all pointing in the same direction. Eating a little less and a little slower helps your body find its balance again. Tiny upgrades, not giant resolutions, give your brain room to adapt instead of rebel. Small pockets of purpose keep your motivation alive. Time in nature and quiet moments in your day let your nervous system reset. Clearing your surroundings makes it easier to focus. Quiet kindness shapes how you feel about yourself and the people around you. Honoring your cracks, instead of hiding them, keeps you learning instead of giving up on yourself. None of this requires perfection. These are settings, not tests. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this line and try saying it the next time you feel like a failure. You're not broken. Your settings are. Change the settings gently and consistently, and your life will start to feel different from the inside out. I'd love to hear which one habit you want to experiment with this week. Share it in the comments. It helps your brain commit, and it might give someone else a helpful idea. If you want more science-backed explanations about daily habits and psychology, you're welcome to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And one final reminder, this is education, not medical or mental health advice. If you're struggling with your health, mood, or eating, please reach out to a qualified professional who can support you personally. You're not broken. Your settings are, and you're allowed to start changing them, one tiny habit at a time.